Welcome to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Every week, you can have the conversations you've always wanted to have about the films you love.
Shut up!
We're gonna get you. Not another peep.
Get rid of your distractions and prepare yourself.
Then lock your door. 5, 6, crucifix.
You got a big surprise coming to you. You're not going anywhere.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Welcome everybody to the Cult Classic Horror Show. Danny Bonin here with you.
Scotty Bonin with you guys.
We are the Blood Brothers. And
There's a silver one, Danny. I don't have a silver one.
Matt Damon.
Carmelo Chimera.
Matt Damon. Somebody read my thing.
Matt Damon's on the podcast.
Rob's shopping for microphones because, quick disclaimer, Carmelo's mic is taking a shit literally minutes ago. And so he might sound a little echoey. He's on laptop mic, but that's all right. We're still here.
Yeah,
we're still doing the thing.
Okay, I just sent a link. We may have to get these, Danny. Look, the bar on this, instead of them being little dots, the bar is like a solid LED bar.
Oh, God. The mics we have are fine.
I got the old
But
school
we got
one
the
still.
Generation 1. These are the Generation 2.
We're very excited to talk to you today about audio equipment, which, of course, is
Yes. Yes. Welcome to the audio podcast.
That's right. We discuss everything you like to know about the technical and scientific aspects of audio cables.
Look,
Today we'll be discussing superconductivity and superconductivity above freezing temperatures.
Yeah,
That's what this podcast has switched to.
Scott, would you like to listen more about the magnetic resonance field used for the harmonic frequencies in your headset?
I think
would
you
love
know.
that.
It sounds like you know a lot about this already. Actually,
I'm just making up.
Phenomenon.
I'm not a real scientist, guys. I got to break it to you.
Today we are actually talking about
G Yeti.
I can't do
dynamic.
I can't do it like the old trailer did. That's all I remember about the trailer for this Sinister.
I don't remember the trailer for this.
I remember like the deep voice going Sinister.
I love the marketing for this, and like it's like burned into my head that like the blood on the wall, and I forgot. I haven't seen this movie in like 12 years. And I forgot how it ends with her painting the walls with everybody's blood, and like the movie telegraphs the finale in the poster, but it still catches you by surprise. It doesn't quite ruin it, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This felt like a fresh watch for me too, because I've seen it a few times, and I saw it in theaters when it came out back in
2012.
So I was early 20s, and but it seemed like a fresh watch because I hadn't watched it in so long. So it was very pleasing. Rob, did you watch it in full daylight with the blinds open?
I didn't watch it.
What?
But you've seen it a lot.
I've seen it a lot.
Well, you watched it recently, like a few months ago, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I haven't had time. I had to do spring cleaning today.
Oh, yeah. Don't bother with the podcast that we plan every 2 weeks.
Look, the fact that this is every 2 weeks makes it more difficult.
We're taking anyone who's interested in replacing Rob. Just shoot us a message and see what happens.
Please do.
I did watch this movie today during the daylight, and it wasn't as scary. But it still got me.
Rob Quits CCH at CompuServe.com.
Really?
I watched
AOL
Monday
online?
night, and
AOL.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, never mind.
Go ahead. Sorry, Carmelo.
I was just trying to talk about the movie, and we can talk about whatever you guys want.
No, please.
Tell us how you watched it.
I started watching it Monday night, and the only reason I was able to go to sleep is because afterward I watched that Saturday Night Live skit of Beavis and Butthead, which just put me right to bed after that with a smile.
Good.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's the best thing to come out of Saturday Night Live in like 20 years.
Is it really?
Seeing Ryan Gosling as Beavis was like, it got Bo Ghoul's face out of my brain.
Okay.
Ryan Gosling is the only guest on Saturday Night Live that is even useful. I found out because he's hilarious.
I have got to see that. I have got to see him in that.
You'd be good at it.
I see your curtain behind you moving. This movie's freaking me out.
I love this movie. I mean, I've seen this movie at least 10 times.
Yeah. So it's fresh. It's fresh.
But I don't watch it at night.
Dude,
this shit's not happening.
I jumped like 3 times, and I knew they were coming, but I still jumped. God.
When this first came out and I saw it in theaters, I do remember thinking like it was scary, and it's probably one of the top 10 scariest movies to come out ever.
I put this movie right up next to The Exorcist. It's not like it's like my favorite. It is one of my favorites. I don't know, like top 5, top 10. My favorites move all the time. But in terms of scary, this movie is like Exorcist is number 1. This movie's number 2, easily.
Really?
Like Evil Dead 2013 isn't scary.
No.
It's brutal.
It's a roller coaster ride. It actually amps you up and it's fun and it's good.
Yeah.
This movie is genuinely scary. Like
I agree.
It's got high creep factor.
Movie. Yeah, and I watched this movie years after it came out. It just popped up on Amazon or Netflix, and it was at night.
Yep.
I think I was actually, I think I may have been in a hotel when I was traveling for work. And I sat there and watched this thing, and it ruined me.
Yeah, well, and most of the movie
terrifying.
Shot during the night, so there's so many dark scenes.
Yeah, well, and the Super 8, it's really the Super 8 sequences, the home videos that really add the creep factor. That's what really gets you.
Yeah, they shot it so well. And I think,
and the music, the soundtrack's amazing.
Ethan Hawke's like one of the most underrated actors. He's great in everything he's in, and he sells this movie.
Yeah. He's so good.
And I think that I don't know if it's officially been confirmed, but I bet he's a horror buff because he does all these horror movies. They're low budget.
He just did Black Phone. Yeah.
I don't even think that they would be able to afford him if he wasn't willing to do them, or enthusiastic.
I think he likes doing them. I think it's a preferable thing for him to do them.
I don't know if he's a horror buff, but I think these type of movies, these type of horror movies, allow him to act the way he wants to.
Sure.
I think he takes acting very, very seriously. He's had lots of interviews that I've watched with him, just being a fan of his, and about how like Dead Poets Society, and he studied Stanislav. He studied he was like a big actor. And I think these characters, like in Black Phone and like in this movie and some others, I just think it allows him. I just think he likes the characters. Like, I think the same way that Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey thought television was beneath all actors.
Yeah.
And then they read the script for True Detective. And
like, yes,
Matthew McConaughey was supposed to play Woody Harrelson's character, and
that's
vice
right.
versa.
I remember that.
And McConaughey read it, and I think very much like Ethan Hawke, McConaughey's in the headspace to be like this actor or whatever.
Yeah.
And he said, "I want this." Because this like excites me, and I think Ethan Hawke looks at roles not by the budget or the studio, but he's like, I want to play that guy.
Yeah,
that sounds interesting. And
that's me.
And as horror fans, I like it because I thought Black Phone was phenomenal.
It was great.
Me too. I love Black Phone.
What's this movie about, Carmelo?
Yeah, let's get a little synopsis.
I'm so glad you asked.
We all love this one, right?
Oh, if y'all haven't watched, we all agree that we love this movie. Podcast.
Well, then we'll do a short one.
We all agree that we love this movie. That was our first thoughts.
All right. That's right. Yeah, just to round that out, we're all in agreement. Well, let's see. Sinister is about a true crime novelist named Ellison Oswald who moves his family into the home of 4 murder victims. They were all hung to death, and their youngest daughter is missing. And he's sort of past his prime. He had his big hit, and he's kind of chasing the dream one last time, and gets kind of obsessed with this case. And he finds in his attic a collection of snuff films that show various families, including the hanging victims, murdered by unseen assailants over the years. And as he investigates, he learns that all the families are connected, and he learns that they're all being stalked by this spectral figure, a pagan deity called Bogul, the foundation of the modern boogeyman. And as the horror and danger to his family escalates, he finally decides to move, only to learn that Bogul's method of killing is to possess or otherwise seduce the youngest child of the family, make them commit all the murders, and then claim and eat the child's soul. And he does this only after they move so that he can continue to spread his curse, because he lives on in the images. He lives on in the snuff films and the images of him. So in the end, Ellison and his entire family are hacked to death by his youngest daughter. And she, continues her hobby of painting the walls, only now with her family's blood.
Yeah. And this is the only one. This is the only horror movie where you don't want to leave the house. Don't leave the house.
Why leave the house? It's such a good trick, because the whole time you're watching it, like every time you're like, just leave, just move, just go. Yeah. And this time they do it, and you're like, thank you.
Yes.
And as soon as he gets to the new house, he gets the call. No, what do you mean you moved? That's the last touch of the pattern.
You did the thing. You did the thing you're not supposed to. Now you're gonna die.
Too late now.
See, but if he stayed in the house, he would have kept having the ongoing night terrors with his kid, and he would have had freakouts. The recorder kept popping on and off, so this would have got worse and worse. But hey, he would have lived still.
Yeah,
supposedly.
Yeah. I don't know. So, what are the numbers here?
Really? Well, this is another Blumhouse movie, so it was very low budget, $3 million, and it did $3 million was the budget. Released October 12th, 2012, and worldwide gross was $87 million. So, wow, another hit for Blumhouse and other producing companies.
Yeah.
But I know the second one didn't do as good, so this one's kind of... I've never seen the second one.
I have, and I completely have forgot it, so I should watch it again.
I'll have to watch it again.
Maybe tonight.
Or watch it again.
I think it's super underrated. I think it's a good sequel to this. Is it as scary as this? No, but not many movies are.
Yeah. Well, the problem with the sequel is they kind of had to tweak. They had to tweak some of the lore to make it fit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Where in this one everything was finite. That if you move, you're done. If this happens, you're done. And in the sequel, it was a little loosey goosey, because it kind of has I remember it kind of having a happy. It just didn't make as much sense.
Yeah, but it was pretty good.
I like how this ends. Where like Ethan Hawke's house is, with the family moving into that house, and then it goes in.
It picks up like years later, so the box is moved around from Ethan Hawke's house to, I think, one or two more.
Okay,
and it ends up being in a barn of a house that some family's squatting in because they're running from an abusive ex-husband. It's got all kind of little weird dramatic storylines to it.
Yeah, okay.
I do like
some that aren't needed.
I like how this one ends just dark as hell.
Slowfoot.
It's just not a happy ending, and I like how they did that.
Oh, dude, it's her like laying down the camera and getting the axe ready and blood everywhere, and then obviously the boogeyman behind her and going into the projecting screen with her, and cool. all of his kids with him there that he's taking their souls.
It's lovely.
That jump scare at the end, man, got me again when his face goes. I'm like, oh god, damn!
And the soundtrack. You can't say enough about the soundtrack and the music while these Super 8 films are going. And we'll talk a little bit about how that came to be, but So let's get into it.
Dive into it.
They filmed this mainly in New York and Los Angeles. The murder family homes that the Oswalds move into in the beginning is in New York, at 169 Middle Neck Road, Sands Point, New York. Then the house they move back into at the end is Kirby Hill, Muttontown, New York. But then they also filmed some in Long Island and Los Angeles,
nice,
where they had a staging. So we'll talk about that. But started filming September 19th, 2011, and continued until October 25th, 2011. Wasn't released till a little bit less than a year later. It sounds that's what the release was. But
October 12th, get that Halloween season release.
Yeah, so less than a year. Oh, I have an interesting fact coming up about the timing on this, but anyways, it's an interesting story how this came to be. So it all started over drinks in Las Vegas. So, director Scott Derrickson had been a fan of C. Robert Cargill, who was a movie critic at the time. Now, Cargill wrote the script for this, along with Derrickson. So the two became good friends and found themselves both in Vegas at the same time. They got drinks, and one thing led to another, and Derrickson revealed he had a potential financing for a low budget horror movie and was looking for ideas. So he didn't have a script yet, but he had potential financing in place. So Cargill pitched him an idea he had been thinking about for years, and that rough draft would become Sinister. They wrote the script in 5 weeks, and they did it together. But Derrickson, in his own words, says, I had my own idea that I was developing to go do when he met with Cargill in Vegas. But then he pitched him his idea first, and then Cargill was like, well, I have an idea. And he said, okay, well, tell me. And as soon as he heard Cargill's idea, he was like, oh, that's way better. And that's the one we're doing.
Nice.
Honest.
Nice.
Yeah. And so for Cargill, the idea came from a dream, a nightmare. Cargill says he had a nightmare after watching The Ring.
Well, like we
yeah. So he had a nightmare after watching The Ring in theaters. And apparently, now I don't have a description of the nightmare, but apparently it was the basis of this movie. They didn't have the lore or anything. I'm sure the nightmare wasn't super detailed. But according to Cargill, he had this nightmare in like 2002, and it stuck with him so long that after 3 weeks, he had echoes of this nightmare in his head. Oh. And if it was scaring him that much, he's like, I bet it would scare other people. So he started to construct a story around it, and it was just something he was kicking around every once in a while. And finally, 2007, 2008, he turned it into like this solid pitch. Pitched it to a couple friends, and everyone would always say, "Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, it'd be a really good movie." But that was all it really was. It was just this, "Hey, I got this cool idea for a movie" kind of thing.
No takers.
So yeah, around this time, it was Jason Blum's horror empire was in the early stages. He just found huge success with Paranormal Activity. James Wan, who made a name for himself with Saw, of course, we talked about that recently, just released Insidious as well. And then the success of these two films convinced Derrickson that he wanted his movie with Cargill to be a Blumhouse release. So luckily, Jason Blum was a big fan of The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which who isn't?
It's a great one.
Just
so good.
So good. That's one of the top scariest. I'd say top 10.
I would say actually that might be as or more scary than this movie.
Yeah, they're close.
It's close, but I think this one wins out.
This one might be a little bit more. I don't know.
So Derrickson
for one scene, which I'll get to when we get to it in order.
Yeah. Well, so Derrickson, that was one of his earlier films.
He directed that?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah. Okay.
So he was asked to attend a meeting at Paramount with Blum, who said, look, it's very simple. I think you're a really talented filmmaker. I think Emily Rose is really scary. I'll give you a $3 million budget and a final cut if you make a scary movie for me. So,
wow,
that's sort of how it.
That's what Jason said, huh?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. And again, $3 million. It's not a lot of money for.
No, and I think that's like the key here. Blumhouse is all the best Blumhouse in most of the horror movies that we like. It's the small budget, and
I love it.
I think it makes people for the movie to work. It has to have a really good story to make up for having such a small budget.
Oh, for sure.
And the effects, and it has to have a vibe. Like Evil Dead is fantastic, not just because of the effects and the story, but it has this the soundtrack and the score, and just this feeling and vibe to it, and I just don't think you get that with $30 million.
Yeah. That's funny. I wonder if he just gave him the $3 million even before he pitched him the idea to Blumhouse. Like, hey, make something scary for me. You don't even need to tell me what it is, or if he told him like what it was about. Of course, most of that went to Hawk, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure what.
Probably
in this timeline, I'm not sure if since Derrickson talks about having potential financing already, I don't know if that was the Blumhouse financing or if it was a different type of financing. And then they came up with this idea, pitched it, and then got the Blumhouse financing. I'm not sure.
Maybe that's what happened.
But yeah, so the making of the movie was exceptionally fast. From the first meeting in Vegas when Derrickson first heard the idea all the way to the movie getting released in theaters was less than 1 year.
Wow.
And I guess part of the reason why it came together so quickly and the filming didn't drag on was due to the way it was set up. So production designer David Brisbane says that Derrickson and Cargill were like laser focused on having a story that takes place in one location and one house. And from a production standpoint, Brisbane says you can pretend that 80 sets cost the same thing as 4 sets but it ain't gonna work when you're planning. They weren't pretending. They knew that it was to be a small budget film, and that was what Scott's pitch to Brisbane was.
Well, I mean, in like recent movie history, some of our favorites are this. You have Sinister. I think the Autopsy of Jane Doe is incredible, and they're all these one location, very small, claustrophobic feeling movies. That one, You're Never Gonna Catch Me or whatever, the one on Shudder that you watched, Danny, that I just watched.
Oh yeah.
It's one location. And
it is.
It's not as good as these movies, of course. I think it's very good, but they do it so well. It's you're in this one location, but it's never uninteresting. You are locked in the whole time that the movie's happening.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, Scott's pitch to Brisbane was, quote, "We have written this thing so that we can do a good job of the production design part of the storytelling in like a focused way. A few sets that are really good that accommodate the entire world that needs to be seen in the story." And so Brisbane could see on the page that they were honest about it and trying to have this controlled, contained world for storytelling. And they kept their end of the bargain. So it allowed them to focus, on just the art design, the set design for just that place. So Derrickson did a ton of pre-production all day. During pre-production, he apparently did nothing but search the internet for the scariest music he could find that was unknown and was relatively cheap.
This is really good music, man.
Yeah, he found a band named Ulver who had a 25-minute track called Silence Teaches You How to Sing. I guess it's a 25-minute piece with very different pieces of music, including some really disturbing stuff. And they licensed it for $500.
Jeez.
Yeah. While filming, he would play sections of the music on set on a loudspeaker so that people could sort of feel what it was like to, feel the tension or whatever.
It was good.
We have to look. I want to look up that track and see how much of it ended up maybe being used in the movie.
Yeah, I'd play it right now if it didn't sound like it was going to scare me.
Yeah, I have it on my Apple Music. Actually, sometimes it comes on. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh shit!
Please excuse me a moment.
Yeah, you have the Sinister soundtrack on your.
I do.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I can cue it up here.
Okay. I'll be right back. Continue.
Yeah, no worries. I'll have to add that on. So, anyways, all right. So the movie. We'll get into some of these shots here. So for the famous opening shot of the film, they used a real tree. Of course, we talk about how frugal they're being, and then we jump into something like this, which I think might be a little extensive. So for the opening of the film, they used a real tree they had cut down and brought in from Pennsylvania. They planted it into the ground with a giant welded steel stand that sort of worked like a giant Christmas tree stand. So, and they were in the time crunch because all the leaves on the tree were going to die. So they had to reassemble the tree after cutting it down. They numbered the branches, reassembled all the branches on the tree. Sculptors filled in all the gaps with paper bark, and scenic painters painted it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Had to put it in there.
There it is.
There it is. Okay,
so,
anyways.
So they brought in, that's a big ass tree.
Damn.
Like,
well, it's huge.
They transferred it there from somewhere else.
So you said it was a real tree still then, right?
Yeah, they cut it down and then reassembled it. So I don't know. You thought that they would maybe find a location that had a usable tree, but maybe that was tough to find.
Do you guys think that one branch, I mean, it's a huge branch, falling down could hold up the people, all those people?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like with like the pulley.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
I'll tell you a little bit about.
And then the magical saw that was sawing the branch down.
Yeah.
Carmelo, you freaking missed the boogeyman. See the soundtrack.
That's why I left.
There it is. There it is. Oh yeah.
Well, so for this tree that they shipped in and reassembled, I mean, it's just crazy that they did something like that. But for the actual tree hanging scene, the stunt people were brought in. They designed it very carefully to make sure that, when the kids, quote unquote, were getting hung, that there was foliage in front of them a little bit so that it wasn't too intense showing the children. It's pretty clear though.
Dude, man. Yeah. That was a brutal scene.
Yeah. there was a problem the first day they were shooting where the stunt didn't really go as it should have. I guess the stunt coordinator who designed the rigging for the hanging shot and who also hired all the stunt people for it didn't attend the final production meeting, which made Derrickson very angry. Then he didn't show up for tech scout either. I'm not sure what the tech scout, but maybe just sort of a dry run or something. So like a demonstration of how the hanging shot would work never really took place before the day. So the stunt coordinator wanted to have a crane on the front of the house that had the actors like on it, attached to it separately from the tree. Then they would time the branch falling down and hoist the people up at the same time. They wouldn't have anything to do with the other mechanically, but it would just happen at the same time. But Eli Manahe, the art director, said, under no circumstances should you get a crane. This is the worst idea. You can't do it this way. It's going to be a disaster. But sure enough, they grabbed a crane. He was ignored multiple times regarding the crane. And his original design was that they would have this branch that was a huge limb that would be on something like a big hinge or something like that. But
pull them up. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the part.
So they used the crane then. The crane worked.
Well, they didn't. So
they didn't.
I can't really wrap my head around what. So Eli Manahe recalls the stretch of the situation. He said, "You have a rope that's attached to the branch, and you have a rope that's attached to the actors, like a cable. When those two things go up, they separate." So he was like, "How are you going to camouflage the cable attached to the actors if the rope suddenly turns and goes the other way?" And they were like, nobody had any idea how, and he was telling them they can't do it this way.
Shit.
So what he had to do was create a quick release so the rope would be attached to the cable, and as it went out, it would separate from the cable, but that means you had to reset it every time. So I can't really picture what he's talking about there,
Yeah, I'm having a difficult time.
Well, the quick release would be the branch falling down, right?
Yeah. I don't know, but
many of our fans out there draw us a diagram.
Yes.
But anyways,
well, I thought the little girl drew a diagram. Stephanie, the little girl, didn't she draw one in the movie?
She drew like a Home Alone diagram. She had with like crayons and stuff.
Like a shoebox, top of a shoebox.
Yeah, and what you don't see is that this is like her sixth attempt to kill her family. She tried micro machines.
Yep.
She tried the blowtorch above the door.
She did the iron.
Yeah, it wasn't working. The iron
wasn't working.
Then she came up with this.
And good, boom, done, all four at once.
Well, sort of like a catastrophe happened where the actors who are being hung were in these harnesses where their feet were sort of in stirrups so that all the pressure was on their back. And one actor fell through the stirrups and was hanging by his neck from the harness, and they had to.
Jeez.
Yeah. That's literally the plot of a horror movie.
Yeah.
That one. What's that fucking movie? This found footage one. It's great. It gets hung.
The Gallows?
Gallows. Gallows. Which is a good movie.
Yeah, the high school kid gets hung, right? The high school theater kid.
Yeah. The theater kid. Yeah.
Oh no! So thankfully the actor was okay, but it scared everyone, and they brought someone else in to re-rig the tree, and that's what you see in the actual movie. So
it looked good. It's crazy that how the little, because I have that exact same tree cutter with the sharp saw at the end, but you can extend it and cut a branch off.
Too.
You just see it going I'm like, dude, it's fucking nuts. And you see the boogie. I mean, obviously he's pulling somehow he's making it happen, but it's that's nuts.
When you see it in the movie, obviously the tree branch falls and pulleys causing them to hang. But yeah. So
this is creepy.
Anyways, Derrickson wanted a ranch-style house so the camera could follow easily throughout the space, and because so many haunted houses look the same in movies, and he wanted it to look different. I did think the house had somewhat of a different feel to it than other haunted house movies.
Yeah, because it felt just like regular suburbia.
Yeah.
I like the ranch style. Yeah.
Originally, Chris Nora, the director of photography, thought they were shooting the movie on film, but Blumhouse told him it was going to be done digitally, which I guess it was just starting to happen at the time. This was about the time where they were shooting digitally.
Really?
Yeah. So according to Nor, digital is very easy to make black, but it looks very artificial when you do that. The contrast is just boosted, and they didn't really want to do that. They really had to deal with lighting where the blackness was really there, not something you just crunch down in post or something. So because the digital cameras are very sensitive, it was a lot of work on set to get the lighting just right. So there were times when he was like putting black on the ceiling, putting black everywhere. So there's no light bleeding into these black parts of the room. Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, and
really cool.
It really helps set the tone for the film, he said. We don't notice it obviously as the viewer. Maybe we just notice blackness, right?
Yeah.
But
this movie, the lighting in this movie is very moody and creates a just this tone of dread around every scene.
Yeah.
Even when the family is like having dinner at the beginning is something that sticks out in my mind because it's very, very dark and they're only hinting at some of the horror when they're talking just very loosely about how he writes crime and it's very, scary. So the kids need to stay out of his office.
Yeah.
And that sets the tone for the whole movie, and they took something simple like family dinner and they gave it like this dangling axe above them.
Yeah.
It feels like it's there the whole time.
I recall actually thinking that 2 nights ago when I watched the movie, right when that dinner scene opens, it's just a splash of light from above. And, and I, in my head, I was like, wow, I mean, I guess people eat dinner like that sometimes, just the one light on above, but it just seems really dark in there.
Well, like the only time it was light was when it was daytime within the house. I mean, even when he's in his office, you just have like a little like sconce light on. He's trying to check the film under the light, and it's all black behind him. I'm like, God, man, it's so like what could be behind him right now? It's so dark and all. It
works in the story because you figure they've just moved in. They don't have a bunch of lamps.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So like that overhead light in the kitchen plausibly is the only light in the room at the time. But that's not even it works with the story, but more importantly, it works with the mood. And if you hadn't told me about literally hanging black in the background to create that effect, I would have just thought they had one lighting source and they used contrast to get rid of the background. And it's really cool to think that they were probably sitting there surrounded by like black felt. Yeah. Which doesn't reflect light and is often used for these purposes.
Yeah, because I bet it'd be cool to see like a before and after the application of the blackness, because maybe in your head you're like, oh, you just put that splash of light above and that'll be fine. But maybe there's a before shot where indeed that splash of light is reflected off many things in the walls in the background.
Right. Exactly. Because that's it would, right? Like even any room you're in, you'd see whatever.
Yeah. I remember blacking out the windows in Sin Eater when we did the day shoots. We had to black out every type of light.
It was really cool because what we did was we blacked out the entire house, remember, and then filmed all the night scenes in a row, and then took all the blacking off the windows then, so that we could have day shoots, but didn't have to keep doing it. And so we stacked all the day and then all the night, and that's how we did it for Sin Eater, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, which was sort of did we even come up with that, or were the lighting guys like, oh, we'll just black out the windows? Didn't they just?
Potter and I came up with that. So we came up with it in the scheduling phase because we were talking about how we didn't want to shoot at night. And then even if we did, there'd be light from outside sources. Yeah. So once we knew we had to black out the windows, we thought, well, then let's, for timing reasons, because remember, we were like, how do we do this in 15 days?
Yeah.
So that was our mandate and I thought, well, we just have to stack the night and the day.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, so once again, Eli Manny, he was the art director. I mentioned him already. He was on one of the commentaries, so he's quoted a lot, but he said that it was real tough for him sort of figuring out the way to show the things pertaining to the case in the correct order, in the correct way. So for instance, they had all these different things they didn't really think out in terms of how to shoot. And he's like, well, you have to shoot this before you shoot that. Otherwise you haven't seen this clue yet, or he just said he thoroughly art directed the shit out of the script because it was so complex in terms of how to visually tell the story. The execution basically of like, okay, we've got to get a photo shoot of photographic evidence of the crime. You have to have these in your hands. Like this is what's you're looking at right now, So in order to do that, you have to set those things up. So one of the cruxes of the film is just its use of photographs to help inform the story. And he knew he had to get it just exactly right for it to be as effective as possible.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to just be aware of what's on the info board, where the yarn's going, what's
happening. Because for all that to work, like all the crime scene photos, all the photos of Bogul, obviously the snuff films, but the maps, all that shit has to be created. If you write it in the script and someone has to make that, and it sounds like it was this guy's job.
Yeah, exactly. So I said there's some filmed in Los Angeles. So the attic was built on a soundstage. They designed an elevated set that Ethan Hawke could go up from below and pop up into there. I guess David's plan for the attic was like way more ambitious than what they could build. And El Manahy and Derrickson just weren't on the same page about how realistic it would be to create the vision. So they just had to tone it back a little bit. I don't know what it was going to be, but it looked perfectly fine how it was.
No, it told it to me completely. I would have thought, except for him falling through when he falls through the ceiling, I would have thought that the whole thing was a house that had a third floor that had or had a crawl space attic.
Ranch style house with the attic that was that big. Yeah.
The sun behind Rob is sending us like Morse code signals.
Dude,
it's giving Rob a halo, like he's passed away, and
Rob is angelic.
It's Bagul.
Right.
Rob is like, I still love all of you.
Rob, did you have a stroke and you're actually in the afterlife right now?
Yeah,
I'm feeling it.
All that spring cleaning has wiped you out,
dude. I had to get rid of so many shoes.
If anyone needs shoes, Rob's donating. Just shoot him a message.
You had to come to the Goodwill in Bradenton, Florida, because that's where they're at.
Oh, okay.
Are they there already? Did you make the delivery?
Yeah. I just had to.
Oh man!
You had to bite the bullet,
dude.
You had to bite the bullet and do it.
I'm saying,
did you cry?
Are you crying right now?
I'm a little upset because there no argument.
I understand.
There's no doubt. There's at least 30 pairs.
Oh God!
And I've got at least another 30 or 40
God.
that I couldn't part with.
You need to be on an episode of Hoarders or whatever. Maybe not Hoarders, but
you keep it clean. You just
I was saying it's not a mess. I got little shoe boxes and everything for them.
No, I've seen your shoe boxes.
I think every time Danny or Scotty come into town or come to my house, we see your closet.
Let me go back and see that. Let me see the hats and the shoe collection right now.
I got a brand new pair of Nikes looking at me right now.
No,
crisp.
Just
and then I got those new On Cloud Monster runners, which are awesome.
You don't run.
Do you have a pair of?
No, but I walk.
Do you have a pair of Ethan Hawke moccasins from Sinister?
No, I don't. But I do have those.
You gotta get some of those.
And I did buy a brand new pair of Olakai flip flops this morning.
Ooh, don't you have like 15 of those?
Probably.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, before we, I already mentioned.
You got a pair. They're so comfortable.
I got one. Yeah, I got one pair.
I need to get myself a pair.
That's because you live. How do you not?
Ace Hardware, man. Ace Hardware.
I'll get. I gotta.
So
see, it's easy for me. It's easy for me because my Ace Hardware is like everything. Sperry's.
Well, it is. It's not like that around here.
Sunglasses, all the rods and reels.
Yeah.
Bagul, 38mm film. Ooh. Everything's there.
Articles about Bagul.
Blu-ray copies of Sinister.
That was Vincent D'Onofrio, right? That was him.
It was Vincent D'Onofrio.
I thought so.
So.
Oh yeah, that was.
It was D'Onofrio on the.
As the FaceTime professor.
Played Jones, Dr. Jones.
You know, that was like they wanted one more name, and Ethan Hawke's like, oh, I bet Vince will do it. We just got to call him like on Skype. And we'll just record it.
But that was also a good way. Like, I mean, obviously, I had the same thought that like they just couldn't get him physically. But that was also a good way to make sure the movie doesn't leave that location. You know,
completely.
Right, and if you think about even the deputy who helps him, I think a lesser movie with a higher budget would have had Ethan go to the police station.
Mm-hmm.
There would have been a little bit.
Oh, for sure.
In the office, just to get a different set and have some more characters and add the length, add the runtime. But, they introduced the idea that the sheriff didn't like him, so he had to meet the deputy at his home.
Yeah.
And then he has to Skype into the home, so everything is still continued.
Genius. Deputy so-and-so.
It's genius.
I will say, I wonder if there was I wonder if they got extra money from Apple. Because they really push hard. It's all iPhones.
Not as much money as like Unfriended,
which is the only reason why I bought a MacBook.
I know.
but watching this, I mean, if you really watch it, like it's almost like a commercial for Mac.
Yeah.
I mean, he uses QuickTime. He's trimming. He's filming it and downloading the film to his
Zooming
digital
up,
on his Mac, and he's printing them out, and he's connecting his iPhone, and it's like, and this was like 2012, so this was like probably, I mean, it was like high James Bond, like you could just plug your phone into your computer and download your videos and slow them down and frame by frame and all that. Of course, his was Mac needs to go back to the light up Apple.
Yeah,
on the back of their
computer,
because his computer was like, I think, one of the last ones, because that's what my disappointment was when I bought my MacBook Pro and I opened it. I'm like, it doesn't light up. There's no. The Apple's not lighting up.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mentioned Noor, who was the cinematographer. So Ethan Hawke recommended Noor to Derrickson, who had done a few films with Ethan before. Hawke also recommended Juliette Rylance, who played his wife in the movie.
She was great.
Yeah, so she came into audition, and Derrickson knew right away that he was going to cast her, but she originally was using an American accent for the audition. But after some time with her in the process, Derrickson decided he loved her authentic British accent and wanted her to keep her natural accent for the film, and Ethan Hawke agreed. So they kept that in there.
Nice.
Yeah. Another cool thing, like for the box that Trevor, the son, sort of comes out of backwards, who, by the way, I believe is the brother of Alexandra Daddario.
Really?
His last name is Daddario. Yeah, I'm not 100% on this. I tried to Google it real quickly before we started recording, but I did say, like, his name, I think it's Michael something Daddario.
Michael Hall Daddario.
Yeah, I said Michael Hall Daddario's sister. I Googled that, and then it just popped up Alexandra Daddario, but it didn't say, like, it didn't confirm anything on that page. It just popped her up. So I don't know how many Daddarios.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know.
I mean, if you Google her, it should say his name as her sibling.
I could look further into it. I just didn't have a lot of time right before we were jumping on.
It's spelled differently. He spells it with an apostrophe.
I thought she does. Does she not?
It does not.
Did you Google this?
I did.
So no, Michael.
I suppose I should know this if I'm changing my last name to the same as hers. When we get married.
Yeah,
I'm willing to do that.
You should know that.
So, anyways,
Danny Daddario.
So for the box that Trevor pops out of, Eli Manahe, the art director, once again had to create something where this kid could elevate himself out of the box. So I guess he created this thing that was like an upside down ab roller, so to fit the curvature of his back on some kind of stand with some stirrups in it, and then he fitted it into the box, and the kid could sort of come up and roll back and look like he was almost being elevated out of the cardboard box for that scare there.
That's like the first scare of the movie, almost right there. That was good.
And Cargill said that Derrickson had a real sixth sense about what would scare people. He was very interesting to watch him work, he said. And one of the disagreements they had was over a scare during the box scene, where it was he like throws down the box and stuff, and there's sort of a jump scare there. I guess it was written the box was thrown down with all the stuff in it, and it was, I guess, I don't remember this part in the movie, but the box is thrown down, and that's a jump scare. But then a couple more things are thrown down, and those are also very loud and jumpy too.
Yeah.
And Cargill was like, "Why are we doing 3? Why not just 1?" And he's like, "No, trust me, they won't expect." And then it ended up testing really well.
I think the jump scares work in this and don't work as much in the sequel, which was criticized for over reliance on jump scares, because a lot of these jump scares are in the movie. I don't know how to describe this other than because the movie does cheat twice. Yeah. When Bogul's face just looks at the camera and appears from nowhere, that's just to scare you.
Yeah.
Right? That's just
like the laptop when he looks over, yeah.
Well, no, I love that.
No, that one was good.
That was good.
I'm talking about the end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boom.
That's just
or up in the attic. Boom, and he falls down.
To tickle your balls and make it fun. But when it's like Ethan Hawke is watching intently and the lawnmower is going over the grass, which is my favorite scene in the movie. It's the scariest movie I've ever seen.
By far the scariest part in this movie is
it builds the tension. It sucks you in. You're right there with Ethan Hawke. What's going to happen? What's going to happen?
Dude.
And then you see the family. Now that's a great jump scare.
Oh my
because
God.
it happens in the story. And I think that's the difference between a genuine jump scare that works versus something they just throw in because they're like, this part of the movie's boring.
Yeah.
Let's put something loud in to scare people.
The cat came by.
Yeah, some bullshit, or something artificial. But when it's in the movie and you're in this quiet, dark house with Ethan, and then all of a sudden some box falls and the fucking, film is everywhere. That's a good jump scare. I think that's what they're describing here. And I think that's what Derrickson nails.
Yeah. Derrickson did say that he believed that his jump scares were earned and done right and not overused.
That's it. Earned. They're earned. Exactly.
Yeah. And, I mean, I think it's like lumping jump scares all into one thing. Like, I think it's, most good scares are jump scares. Mm-hmm. Something quick, happening where, I don't even know if some of these I would necessarily even call jump scares because the movie actually paces slow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even when the kid with the tisms was in the dryer and he spills out, he doesn't explode out of the dryer. He just kind of
he's just in a box.
Yeah. He just kind of comes out.
There's no dryer.
No, there was a dryer.
They talk about that.
I guess they talk he was.
That's his other night terror.
Been stuck in the dryer before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's not like you said. It's not like a cat jumping at the screen, and Bagul just kind of looks at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's never
background.
It's not like Amityville Horror, the remake, whatever that was, 05 or whatever the remake was. It's not just popping out at you. I mean, I think.
Are you talking about Ryan Reynolds' muscles?
Popping out.
Dude, he needs to bring that beard back. But you know what? But he's been replaced. I'm sorry. He's been replaced with Gosling.
Okay.
He's not
he's the new Ryan.
He's not the better Ryan.
Yeah.
He's just not.
I hear you.
And then, honestly, he was replaced with Gyllenhaal before Gosling.
You all about that Roadhouse?
I'll take Zac Efron over.
I still haven't watched Roadhouse.
Oh, I do.
I haven't watched Roadhouse either.
I can't take Zac Efron because he's been to rehab, and if you're too big of a
Iron Claw?
No, I haven't watched it yet.
If you're too big of a wimp to just continue your bad behavior until it kills you.
Wait, your problem with Efron is that he went to rehab and got clean and he's super clean.
Was that for alcoholism?
He's a quitter.
Which is he probably didn't. He doesn't have real problems.
Yeah,
he just went to rehab to try to resurge his career. But and no, I'm not going to watch Iron Claw because I don't feel like crying about wrestlers that I'm going to watch it. I'm
going to watch
it. I cried I'm not even a wrestling fan. I cried the entire movie.
Dude, I got to see this.
He was good in that beer run. He was good in that beer run movie. I just watched that not too long ago.
I know some of those movies are hilarious.
Yeah, Great American Beer Run,
really
whatever it's called.
Oh yeah, I've never seen that.
It's I'm not gonna. There was some post. There's some Instagram reel post, like a movie clip post with the better Affleck. I think Casey Affleck's much better than Ben.
Oh.
But that
doesn't cost as much.
But that Manchester by the Sea movie, and I just did a cursory Google. I'm not watching that. Don't need to.
It was
don't
good.
Need to cry.
I didn't think it was.
No,
that
I'm
sad.
sure it's amazing.
It wasn't that sad.
It really is, but I don't really feel like watching that.
Well, anyway,
I do want to see Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't know if I haven't watched Roadhouse.
My dad said it's fun but pretty bad, but I'm gonna watch it. It looks fun.
I just don't. I don't get it. It didn't need to be remade.
You watched Poultrygeist. You can watch Roadhouse.
You can watch literally anything.
Yeah.
Tell us about these great films.
I don't want to see Jake Gyllenhaal in a bad movie.
Oh, but he's good. He saves the movie.
Of course, he's good.
All right. Well,
Jake Gyllenhaal. He's like the Tom Hardy of
Conor McGregor.
He's very good.
That makes him die.
Well, all of the home video footage and snuff films were shot with authentic Super 8 cameras. Derrickson he had a specific type of film grain that he was going for that was super nostalgic to him. He described it as very grainy, and when you blow it up, especially on the big screen, the grain is very particular. The color, the way it captures color is different. The way it has always felt to him, if I'm quoting him, to me, and this includes Super 8 films that I would find that my grandfather shot that I would watch on the home projector when I was a kid. They always felt a little creepy to me. So that's what he was trying to do.
Because his grandfather was shooting snuff films.
Yeah. So for the Super 8 pool scene, I wondered this actually while I was watching it. Real people were dragged into the pool as they were strapped to the pool chairs. They had a professional... Yeah. How else? Like, I was wondering that as they were shooting it, but they had a professional diver in the pool the entire time and were very careful.
Yeah, and I bet they didn't go to the Hollywood Reporter and bitch and cry and whine like Ed Harris did in Abyss.
That man was underpaid for that piece of artwork. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, they all were underpaid because it turns out James Cameron's a bit of a dick. Yeah. So, like, Michael Biehn was underpaid. God, there was a lot of people in that.
So Nick King is the actor who played Bagul. He was underwater for about 3 hours for the pool scene. They fed him a breathing hose into the pool for him to stay underwater.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and
just him underwater for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, well,
so they actually filmed underwater. I thought that was like a digital thing.
Just before filming, they would take out the breathing tube, stuff a little like 1 gallon thing in his sleeve so he could take a few last breaths before the shot started. They realized early on that if he were to continue to go in and out of the pool, everything would fall off his body. So they had to have him stay in the water. I don't know if they meant like clothes and then makeup, and I don't know.
He was actually in the pool. I thought that was all digital. That's crazy.
No, he was in the pool.
They just didn't like him.
It's funny you mentioned the deputy. James Ransone played the deputy, and he was actually one of the highest rated parts of the film during test screenings. Audiences
he's hilarious in the movie. Yeah.
They loved him. They enjoyed his performance.
It's just enough comic relief. He does not take you out of it. But he adds just a little levity. And
I think everybody's happy that he lives.
Yeah.
And he's playing kind of like the doofy character that would, go off, investigate on his own. And
totally.
Yeah. That is a big twist in this movie that Ethan Hawke and he doesn't make it, and Deputy so and so figures it out before he does.
Yeah.
Right.
And Hawke doesn't make it.
Yeah. And he's like the fanboy. He's the perfect fanboy protagonist guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's important, I think, that he's competent, right? He comes off as a little, fanboyish. He comes off as a little timid, but he's good at it. He's not Barney Frank, but he's incompetent.
No.
He's impotent the whole fucking movie. He's actually really important to the story. So,
Deputy Doofy reporting for duty.
Never disturb me when I'm cleaning my room.
Yes. I told you never to disturb me when I'm cleaning my room.
You guys need to rewatch those.
You guys know?
Oh my God, they're so
yeah, we need to.
We gotta cover.
We've slipped in some comedies. We got it's horror related.
Smell my fingers, Doofy.
We covered The Notebook on April Fool's Day a couple of years back. Remember that?
Yeah, that scary horror movie. Yeah.
We should cover for scary comedies like Mrs. Doubtfire. Somebody cut the trailer as a horror movie trailer and it worked. You're like, oh my God. This is terrible.
Well, I guess the fight scene between Ethan Hawke and his wife, Ellison and Tracy, wasn't blocked beforehand, and they sort of let them improvise and do what they felt, and it turned out really good. Derrickson thinks it's rare for horror movies to have a scene like that, and he credits the actors for being so talented and professional.
That was really good, for sure.
It was a good scene.
He was going off. He had a little Jack Torrance in him. He was kind of, because he's the writer too. He was freaking out and
a little, pissed. But then he keeps coming back like to being nice and redeeming himself.
Yeah. He was yelling. He was pissed.
Jack Torrance doesn't do that. Of course,
no way.
No.
You start right now and just get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. So I guess the concept of Bagul, it stemmed from an argument that Derrickson and Cargill had. Cargill always thought Bagul was a demon, but Derrickson didn't want the character to be a demon. So they boiled it down. Derrickson said, what if we make it an ancient like deity of some sort? Cargill said like a Babylonian deity. And Derrickson agreed. And Cargill's like, yeah, well, let's do it. So Cargill sat down for a couple hours with his research library and just started going through Babylonian myths and Babylonian stories and of gods and demons.
And in that argument, only one of them knew what a Babylonian deity was.
Yeah. He was like, sure.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Like a Babylonian deity? Yes.
So that's how they started crafting it. Derrickson did his own extensive research for the film. He looked at all kinds of photography websites and artwork online, collecting images that were interesting directions to go as far as like the actual look of the deity, the demon.
Well, I thought he just went and looked at the Slipknot face mask of Jim,
close to
Jim
Corey.
The guitarist from Slipknot.
Yeah. You're not far off because it does look exactly like the guitarist for Slipknot. But no,
Jim and Slipknot. Yeah, that's what I thought of exactly. When
it says he was drawn to black metal face paint that was being done at the time, and it had been done in the 90s. Then it came down to 5 images he had found that were very different directions that he really liked. All 5 were, one must have been the face paint, and 4 other directions. He sent them to Cargill and said, which one do you like? I could take off in any of these directions. And I don't know. There was a photograph. It was titled Natalie or something. I don't really know why. Oh, you found it? Is it titled Natalie?
I send it to you so you can put it in the show notes.
Okay, we'll put it in the show notes.
We don't need that lurking around. Okay.
Cargill really liked it, and Derrickson said so. As the more he looked at it, he was like, "This thing's fucking scary. It's great." And the more he thought, because they were gonna go in that direction, right? But the more he looked at it, the more he thought, well, if it's just, I'm happy with it being just exactly like this. And so they contacted the artist on Flickr and bought it for $500.
Okay, why the fuck did I open that?
Dude, that's so freaky.
You send me,
Did you text it, Carmelo? It's in the chat.
For the studio.
Dude, look at the pictures below it. The one on the far right is
I'm going to put this. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Don't need to see it.
Dude.
Okay, I'll share this in the show notes for you guys.
You guys can look at this.
Check it out.
Jim from
apparently
Slipknot,
it was called Natalie. I don't see the word that on this specific picture, but that's interesting. Yeah. All right. Bagul. There it is. So the artwork,
you will eat your children.
Yeah. So the artwork of the mythology, all the stuff that D'Onofrio was showing and going through, that was original and created for the movie. This was sort of a made-up deity, of course. Derrickson was so impressed with how well it turned out, and Cargill loved it so much. It was the one thing he wanted when the movie wrapped. He just wanted the artwork back.
What would you want? Well, hey.
No. But yeah, so
nope.
A couple other interesting things. It took 19 takes to get Ethan Hawke falling with the mug in his hands to get it just right so they could see the fluorescent green in the mug on the ground. Yeah, I don't know why that was so hard.
I missed that on the ground. The green. I saw it inside the mug.
Yeah, he passes out and falls, and then you can see the green in the mug that's tipped over on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Before the daughter comes in and everything. And yeah, Derrickson just loves the ending. He loves how the film ends badly and doesn't have a happy ending.
I do too. Yeah.
A quick couple notes on the response. Sinister obviously was a box office success, grossing over $80 million on a $3 million budget. It opened at number one. Yeah, opened at number one with a debut of $7.4 million in 2,500 theaters across the U.S. By the end of the weekend, the film had grossed $18 million. Roger Ebert said, "Sinister is an undeniably scary movie with performances adding enough human interest to give depth to the basic building blocks of horror." In general, the film received positive reviews from horror fans, and it has obviously developed a cult following and is considered by many as one of the scariest movies ever made. They actually did some stupid study that's cited here, a 2020 study conducted by Broadband Choices named Sinister the scariest movie ever made.
What?
The study sampled.
They didn't hook like heart monitors.
They did. The study sampled 50 of the highest rated horror movies ever made based on reception on sites like IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, and Reddit. Then they measured study participants' heart rates while watching the sampled films. And the average the average heart rate basically went up 32% among all of the people watching Sinister.
Dude, scariest movie of all time? Sinister?
That's what they're saying.
Okay. Hey, I mean, it's up there.
So, yeah. But
but I think I was trying to remember. I think I saw, what was it? There was Sinister was number one, and then Host was number two, which
Host. Me and Camilla watched Host together.
Skinamarink was number 3.
Get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah, as I'm saying, this list is all Insidious. Skinamarink was more scary than Insidious. What a crock.
Whatever.
That's I had to sit on Carmelo's lap when we were watching Host because I was so scared.
Hereditary, Smile.
It was weird though. During the movie, I was patting my lap. I felt something growing inside of me.
Yes.
And then like Hell House LLC.
Yeah.
Talk to me. The Exorcist isn't even on this list.
What?
Oh my God.
I can see Conjuring.
It's not on the list. None of them are. It's like
I could see Conjuring, Insidious. What else did you say again?
And like Conjuring and Insidious and this movie.
Yeah.
But then like the rest were like Smile.
Oh
and
yeah,
talk
Smile's
to
pretty
me and
good.
host but like none of like anything I would consider truly scary except for I didn't think The Conjuring was scary.
Well, speaking of host, did you see you guys see that post? There's a post that was going around that was like, I think it was like by the director of Host, and it said, "This is the setup we used to film Host." And it was literally a laptop with an iPhone taped to the back of it using the iPhone camera as like the webcam and like a body pack mic taped to it so the participant could be mic'd. He's like, we just sent these out to everybody and they use their iPhones, and that's how we filmed Host.
That's awesome.
And they memorize their lines, and we're good.
That's a good, solid movie. That Host is pretty good.
Yeah,
it is.
Host is good.
Unfriended is superior.
Unfriended, man. That fucking blender scene.
Maybe
the freaking blender scene with Unfriended.
We don't even know what kind of computers they were using on Host.
We know they were using Zoom.
Yeah, but you could use that on anything. You could use that on some Windows computer, some like Toshiba.
Have you guys seen Talking Hand?
I've seen the Talk to Me. Yeah,
Talk to Me. Was that scary?
I thought it was pretty good. I don't know if
it was good.
Scary.
I remember not liking the ending. I remember not really getting.
I have to check that out.
It was good.
I paid $10 for it.
Oh, I think I might have rented.
It's okay. I paid $20 for Carmelo's Exorcist. So
I mean,
don't call it that.
For Carmelo's Exorcist, I paid $20. I still haven't seen one dime of that movie.
Before we jump into the last segment, we've been giving shit away again now. So I know.
Whoa! What's that noise?
Oh my god! If we're only halfway through, we're in trouble.
It's the horror end of podcast time.
So I know we've probably given him stuff before, but Will Greer has been making some awesome shit lately for us.
Yeah,
Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, Will,
that he did.
We appreciate the awesome content you've been making, including
so good,
us.
Man. So good.
I shared one or two things on the page, so you guys have to check it out. But Will, just shoot me a message or our page a message, and I'll send you something you don't have. I'm trying to get rid of special edition Poultrygeist, so if you want it, you just let me know. I'll send that to you, or I can send you a T-shirt.
I still need to watch that Poultrygeist documentary.
I think Carmelo wants it
too.
You want the special edition?
No, I told Carmelo I would.
Right, Carmelo? Yeah. You want the special
I did tell
edition
Carmelo I would send him my double copy of Event Horizon, though.
Yes, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm still supposed to do that because I have two now.
Can you just bring it to Montana and I'll grab it from you there?
Oh yeah. I'll try. Remind me. I'll bring it up there. So Will Greer, let us know, or just shoot me a message. I'll send you some. And for the rest of you listening, tag, share, comment, and maybe you will be the horror freak of the week next time.
Is anybody checking like Instagram or stuff, or do we want it all in the? Okay.
No, I check Instagram and Facebook like daily.
Because I just was thinking, I don't check Instagram.
Yeah. So, and then another thing I wanted to say was we haven't got any like reviews on Apple Podcasts in a long time, just because we don't even ask for them anymore. But go there and leave us some reviews. It'd be nice to have some fresh reviews.
We really like the ones that include keywords like misogyny, racism.
There's some bad ones there, but there's some good ones too.
Homophobia.
Oh, I like the ones that are like, we're also too woke.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those were that we are too woke. I think that there's a particular host on the show.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, it's me. It's me, guys.
Yep. Yeah. I was gonna take the fall, but yeah.
Scotty won't.
I do my best to bring in the
trans. So Scotty.
Yeah. Scotty won't leave his liberal agenda out of this podcast. I don't know.
I'm doing my best to try to bring in the flat earthers, the QAnons, the Trump supporters, the Pizza Gators. I'm doing my best.
Well, just go leave us some reviews on Apple Podcasts. Yes. Good or bad.
I'm going to manifest that.
But mainly good. But mainly good. All right. What did you watch?
Yeah.
Anybody?
I watched that They're Never Gonna Catch Me or whatever, or You're Never Gonna Catch Me on Shudder. The guy with the girl in the
that's not what it's called. What was
trailer.
It called? It was
I don't know, something like They're Never Gonna...
I remember, you're in the guy in the trailer and on Shudder.
You'll see it. It's on Shudder. It's got an old guy's face and a red background. I thought it was really good.
I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
You Can't Find Me, as Savannah said. And I thought it was really good. I was hooked on it. the whole time. And
I'll check that out.
then, of course, we watched Late Night with the Devil.
I need to see it still.
Good.
I thought it was phenomenal. Good. I watched it the night it released.
I did. I watched it the next
happy.
night.
I need to watch it still. Damn it. I've been watching too many NBA playoffs.
I'm not going to say that it's scary or anything, but it was shot in such an interesting way. And Savannah really liked it, too, because the art design, I mean, you feel like it's 1978.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, it's perfect.
It's so good.
And the acting's phenomenal. Everything about it's great. Everything about that movie is great. And I know that they kept it in theaters for an extra. They were going to do like theaters and streaming, but it did so good that they held off 2 or 3 weeks before releasing it. But for a Shudder original, I hope it cleaned up.
I think it's Shudder's biggest now. I'm not positive about that.
It has to be. I mean,
Host probably was before, but
yeah, but Host was strictly streaming, wasn't it? Because it was during the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah. I watched.
I was going to watch Dune, but then I was like,
"Oh God, so good!"
I saw Dune too. I agree with Danny. It was great,
dude.
It's awesome.
You saw it finally, Carmelo?
Yeah, I thought. At the end of it, I'm still not crazy about Dune. I thought the first one was just tremendously boring, but
the second one's way better.
After the second one, I at least get it. I get why it's a phenomenon. I get why people are like Lord of the Rings crazy over Dune. So I get it.
There was just a couple of moments in the second one where it's just triumphant. Your hairs stand up, your heart. You're like, this is why I come to movies.
Yes,
it's true. But also the weird darkness, like when he's taking over leads everyone to war. You're like,
well, you know what? Upon second viewing, and I know this isn't a Dune 2 podcast, but upon second viewing, I accepted it way more because I'm like, oh, he's just like, just from that moment, you have to know that he's just saying like his girl issues are bullshit compared to like the bigger picture of life. And he's now accepted that and is moving forward and doesn't give a fuck anymore. That's what you have to just like know.
Oh, you do. And I you got to admire the conviction there. Though it's hardly a sacrifice to choose Florence Pugh over, Zendaya. Like they're both great, but guy's not having a bad day either way. But the darkness of like, he's clearly like an antichrist figure. And he's just like, it's the line. You're rooting for him, but you're also like, he's also leading a bunch of people to the Holy War, and
that's true.
Anyway, I like it.
It was good.
I saw Ghostbusters.
How was Ghostbusters?
It was good. It wasn't bad.
Just say you hated it, Carmelo. Just say you didn't like it.
I didn't hate it. I hated it.
I didn't even know there was a new Ghostbusters movie out. They must not advertise this movie well. I had no idea.
I did.
There was I really had no idea either.
I also saw Godzilla versus Kong, which was fun.
Oh yeah,
I heard it was really good.
Yeah, I heard it was.
It was. I mean, it was not Godzilla -1, which was like the greatest movie of 2023, but like legit, I think was an amazing film. But this was a blast. I mean, Godzilla and Kong fight, and there's another monkey. They fight him too, and there's another lizard with ice powers. I've never
seen one Godzilla.
They all punch each other. It's great. Rob, if you've never seen one Godzilla, go watch Godzilla -1.
Godzilla.
It's the best.
I don't see the point in watching children's movies. I have elevated myself.
We'll see the old classic ones. No. Godzilla.
Oh, I did Google it. Late Night with the Devil's budget was 1.15 million, and it did over 11 million.
Wow.
So
1.1. Awesome. That's all they spent on that. That's crazy.
They said that the visual effects alone, they only spent $150,000.
That's crazy. Wow.
So, and I'm sure it was a limited theatrical run because like the theater by my house did not have it. I would have had to have driven to I probably had driven like 15 miles to like a huge AMC megaplex like at the mall, but it wasn't a huge release. So that's awesome. And then I'm sure, and I saw a ton of people commenting that they all were getting subscriptions to watch it. So I don't know how they crunched those numbers for streaming, but it's awesome.
That's one of those movies where someone made it and you're like, fuck, wish we would have made that movie.
Oh, so good.
Like $1 million and they just zipped it out there. It's like, and
they made it quick. And they shot, I mean, there was like people on like the Joe Bob stuff, all the Shudder people were kind of hinting about it. And then 2 months later it was out.
Yeah.
So it was really good.
You guys will never believe what I did.
Did you watch Dune 2 in theater again?
I rewatched Exorcist the Believer because I fell asleep.
Why? Dude, I'm out of here. Yep.
It's because remember I told you I fell asleep. I told you I fell asleep.
And we all told you how lucky you were. How absolutely lucky you were.
Yourself. You were saved.
You were chosen. You were protected by God.
I remember you snoring right next to me, like, dude, wake up, man. I was sitting there.
So I was like, I gotta rewatch it. I just gotta. It was
better.
No. It was not.
Of course
better.
not.
It was even more obvious how I don't want to start, but it was even more obvious how quickly it was like, oh, she's possessed.
They
the guy's
disappeared for 30 seconds, and her father beat a homeless man to death.
The guy's like, I don't believe in the question, and then 10 minutes later, he's like, she's possessed.
So, no build up, no nothing.
And then, dude, my eyes have now been opened. This is why the argument is reopening. It's not even an argument because now I see how even more scattered all over the place and ridiculous the climax was. Like, how could any writer or any character in the movie be led to believe that any of those efforts combined in such a mess would have worked to save these girls?
Never.
Like, it was just
at least pick one person, one thing.
The three Mississippis
Anyways.
that you see the silhouette of Linda Blair. She was the only one smart enough to I don't need to be in this movie.
No, she read the scripts like, nope, this sucks.
So I did that, and then I watched a couple Creep Show episodes, and I've been watching Fallout too.
I need to watch Fallout because I like Goggins so much.
He's so good. It's good. He's got the same accent from
that's his accent. He's from Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah, so it's his voice.
Yeah, but
it's not as heavy, obviously. But
no, I can't wait for Righteous Gemstones season 4. It has been greenlit. I can't wait for that.
Okay,
and I do need to watch Fallout. I have no idea except for
I never played the games, but
I never played the games. I don't know anything about it.
Good show.
It's a movie or a show?
As a show on Prime.
Okay.
Is it all out?
Season 1's all out.
And you watched season 1.
I did. I also watched Shogun, season 1 of Shogun. It's all out. That was pretty good.
Pretty
on
good?
Hulu. That was pretty good. It's a samurai thing on Hulu.
I don't like samurais.
Oh, okay. Well, don't watch it then.
I'm not gonna. Don't worry.
The guy in it's really good though. The lead guy, and so is the girl. So anyway,
I didn't watch any horror. Liz and I are watching that Succession show on HBO. It's pretty damn good.
That's that Brian Cox one.
Yeah, Brian Cox one. It's good, man. It's very drama filled and shit going on in that one. But
Brian Cox, Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Hell yeah.
Yep, that was on Joe Bob. Y'all need if you have Shudder.
How's the Joe Bob version of it? Because I just watched the normal version.
It's so good because he invites the producer and both of the writers on. And they go through like a huge how did they make the movie. It's so good.
Okay, I gotta watch that.
You guys should watch
it's really good.
Succession too. It is good.
Do they still do Joe Bob where they have it where you don't have to watch the movie, where you can just watch Joe Bob stuff?
Yeah, just search. If you just search just Joe Bob, all of them
on
will
Amazon.
come up. It depends on when they edit them down, but but the Autopsy of Jane Doe is a great movie, but the Joe Bob was fantastic.
Okay, I'll check that out. All right, guys. Well, we are covering Jeepers Creepers next time.
Awesome. Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't get included in this.
I have to just the
first
sometimes.
one, right?
I want to meet the Feebles.
Just the first one. That's in the queue. It's maybe. In the queue. I gotta research it and make sure that's in the queue.
Yeah, we have to make sure it's worthy.
Popping another Poltergeist on us, although it was entertaining, and I don't take it back. I don't regret it.
I don't take
Poltergeist is amazing, and Meet the Feebles was written and directed by Peter Jackson.
I know that probably will be good because Peter Jackson in true form, like with Brain Dead and such, is
this was
at least we're not watching a fat ass shitting into the camera lens.
No, this is a puppet.
Okay.
It's Peter
All right, Carmelo.
Little brother.
It's like the sick, twisted version of Peter Jackson that did Dead Alive, but he did it with puppets.
Okay. Well, we can do that.
All right,
it's incredible.
We got a lot of requests too. Aaron wants us to do the Feast trilogy. We could maybe start getting into that. But we are doing Jeepers Creepers because it's a little nostalgic for me. I have some memories around literally watching it at a party house late at night.
They shot it like they shot it like 2 hours away from Tallahassee. So I don't remember.
So
yeah, where did they? I think they shot it outside of Ocala. Y'all probably drove through where they shot it when you were driving from Thomasville to.
We probably did. And to my,
y'all drove from Thomasville to Orlando. You probably did drive right by where they filmed Jeepers Creepers.
Well, everything, and if I'm remembering correctly, pretty much everything after the first one is just hog shit.
Oh my god, it's so bad.
Yeah, well, we'll get the first one for sure. Then
that last one was a sci-fi.
The last one, actually, I was in a movie that was directed by the same guy that directed the last one.
Oh, really?
Oh god.
Yeah, 97 minutes. And the studio that did 97 minutes also did the last Jeepers Creepers. So
Jeepers Creepers 6 or 7 or whatever it is.
Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Is what it's called.
Yeah, there was like one that was like direct to sci-fi. I mean, and they like CGI'd glass breaking.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I mean, they couldn't even afford. So it was filmed in Dunellen.
The director's a cool guy because I did a film with him.
Yeah, just outside of Ocala.
And he's like a metalhead. He's like Sepultura, and he's like Norwegian or something. But he sort of got the shit end of the stick with that making that movie.
Oh damn it!
So, anyways, Jeepers Creepers in a couple weeks here. So, all right, guys, thanks for joining us.
We'll catch
you
Later.
Don't you blame the movies? Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
Oh, yes. There will be blood.